जय हिंद दोस्तों, मैं हूं मेजर मोहम्मद अली शाह और मेरे लिए बहुत आदर और सम्मान की बात है कि अभी मैं गुफ्तगू में होऊंगा एक ऐसे सीनियर वरिष्ठ आर्मी ऑफिसर के साथ, फौजी एक्स आर्मी ऑफिसर के साथ, जो किसी तारुफ के मोहताज तो नहीं है। आप सब ने इनके बारे में पढ़ा है, नाम सुना है। एंड ही इज द फादर ऑफ द ब्रीव कैप्टन अनुज सूद, शौर्य चक्र, who sacrificed his life for the nation in J&K a couple of years back. And just day before yesterday, you heard about Captain Deepak Singh laying down his life for the country. So the very fact is, people who soldiers who are killed in action, they are very, very brave. There is no doubt about that fact. Their families are the bravest. So let's go ahead and talk to Brigadier Sood, who served for many, many years in the core of the EME. He was with the Army Aviation for many, many years. His son, Captain Anuj Sood, a legend who would be remembered forever, a name which inspires and will continue to inspire generations to come, many, many youngsters to join the Army. Well, he always wanted to join the NDA. He used to see his father in uniform and he always dreamt of joining the Army, nothing else. So let's go ahead and speak to Brigadier Sood. Sir, Jai Hind, and thank you very much for taking your time, sir.
Jai Hind.
Sir, you are yourself a very, very legendary officer, and you are even the father of a very, very legendary officer again, who will live in our hearts and minds forever and forever. So could you tell us a bit about Captain Anuj Sood, sir, about how his growing up years were, sir?
Okay, you see, he was always keen to wear the uniform ever since I can recall, from a very young age. So much so that, he appeared for the Rashtriya Indian Military College examination for joining that school in his, I think, 6th standard, but fortunately, he couldn't make it because he didn't do well in his mathematics paper. Although he was good in studies, but maths was not his forte. Then I moved to Udhampur to command my unit in 2002, and that's where he picked up a lot of games and sports, including swimming, squash, horse riding. In fact, in riding, he went for nationals in 2005 and 2006 and did pretty well. And thereafter, in horse riding, he was in the NDA and IMA riding team and polo team both. So, as regards joining the NDA, his only passion, or rather his only aim in life was फौज में जाना है, very clear aim, and NDA के through जाना है. I mean, and he had only one chance to join NDA because of the age issue. So I used to ask him, I said, what if? There's always a what if you can't make it, because it's a very tough entrance examination. And knowing he was not very good at mathematics, and mathematics is a paper which is almost half the score in, the NDA exam of the two papers. One is general ability and the other is mathematics. Both are 300 marks each. And I asked him this question because he was still studying in his 12th class when he appeared for the exam. And the syllabus had not been completed, so there was a disadvantage. But his focus being what it was, he asked me to speak to the headmaster of the school and get him extra leave for about a month beyond his school vacations. He sat with a tutor, he finished the syllabus on his own much before the school could teach him, and he appeared with full confidence. And he came out of the exam hall. I was there to take him back home, and there was a big grin on his face. I knew he'd made the written exam. Then he was always very outgoing and helpful and friendly, and but his aim was very clear. Even there's a video made by his classmates from the Punjab Public School in Hava. I don't know if you've seen it on YouTube. It's been made a week within the date of his casualty,
I've seen it, sir. I've
and
seen it.
yeah, and there also they used to call him Fauji only. And they were very also clear that also very clear that he would others would wonder what they would do in life, but his friends would say, "Enu to pata hai Punjabi, enu to pata hai main Fauji बनना हैगा." That is growing up years in the army cantonments and army clubs. All children at that age had different aims because parents were not very keen to send their sons to the army because the openings were much broader. Majority of his classmates, were preparing for mostly engineering. So as a backup option in his 12th, I made him fill the form because it was another option. He was doing well in academics. He topped the school. He was topping the school from board years 10th, 11th, 12th. So academically also he was pretty good, and sports wise also he was pretty good. Uh, I would say ideal material to become an army officer at that age. So much so that when he would come to the mess, the staff would think he was an officer already because his way of talking, walking, the attitude conveyed to people that he was already officer potential. So I guess that was his aim and his destiny, and he worked for it. So very
That's
passionate about it.
that's
Yes.
remind me so much of myself, साहब. That's जो आप कह रहे थे, मेरे को हकीकत में अपना ही यूथ उस टाइम पे दिख रहा था कि मैं भी
हाँ
बिल्कुल
हाँ
ऐसा ही था जैसे जो आप बता रहे थे.
हाँ,
Even
नहीं
I was
वो
very
तो
weak at maths.
yeah.
I was very weak at maths. In my class fifth, I had failed the entrance test for Doon school. Again, वो दोनों स्कूल देहरादून के अंदर है. तो I mean, when I would walk in the, बल्कि मैं जब travel करता था as a college students in the Fauji Dibba, I would keep crew cut and I would pretend to be I would not claim it, but with my demeanor I would try to show कि मैं कोई लेफ्टिनेंट साहब हूँ. मेरे लेफ्टिनेंट कोई जनरल साहब से कम रैंक नहीं थी उस टाइम पे.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Sir.
General awareness in public about our rank system and officer cadre is still pretty bad. But I think things are changing now because I saw there was an event yesterday organized by the public here, one of the Lions clubs, and a fair amount of civilians had gathered. They had organized a blood donation camp after Anuj uh, to commemorate his memory and service to the nation. So that's where they called me, and I saw the change. It's changing. Perceptions are changing for the better.
सर आज तक ना सर टीवी पे कई बार I'm giving analysis. There's a Major General साहब sitting, and then I'm sitting. They would call me a Major General, and they would call the Major General, Major साहब आप बताइए इसके बारे में आपकी क्या राय है. So it's
I agree. I agree because you see public education on media interaction with the armed forces, especially the media. What you're saying, I recall incidents when I was in the NCC, and for every NCC camp that we were conducting, I was a group commander. The media would suddenly appear, and after the first media interaction, I realized कि इनको तो सवाल पूछने आते नहीं है और standard इनके वही level है, तो I would already prepare a written brief for them and give it as a handout. इसको पढ़ लेना और छाप देना जो छापना. There's no point, trying to convince them because uh, their minds are set, and we are away from the public exposure. So I don't even blame them. If you're with them in all times, or they are with you, embedded with your system, then things would be different. But there's a gulf. There's a gulf.
Sir. Sorry, sir. So we were coming to, you were talking about how he would dress and his demeanor. People would think that he's already an officer. And
That's right. That's
sir,
right. In fact, I recall this incident about, when he had to go for his service selection board, which was at Bhopal, and he was studying at the Punjab Public School, Nawar, which is in Punjab, near Patiala. I was posted in the east at Siliguri. So, for appearing for the interview, he had to carry his documents, birth certificate, school leaving records, which were all with me. So I had to come down, and we met at Delhi, and we went by train to Bhopal. And he, for the SSB, you go in a white shirt normally and dark trousers with a tie. Uh, so he got down, and the bus which had come to receive them, there was a Hawla major who was to escort them. And he told all these candidates कि सामान चढ़ाने के लिए चढ़ो ऊपर. And this guy bloody first to rush up. And I told him, I said, don't be so, you know, I would say, don't take the initiative. But he was always the leader, the pack. So he was on top of the bus, picking up everybody's luggage, dumping it on top. By the time he came down, his white shirt was all, messed up, and it was black, and there was no place for him to sit in the bus. So he was standing. I said, lesson मिल गया तेरे को. He said, नहीं dad, ये तो कोई बात नहीं है. And then of course, I was at Bhopal for those 4 5 days, but the system, so I didn't even go almost 200 yards around the selection center because you know it's taken a miss. So I was there all the time in my room in the EV center, reading a book, whiling away time, and I had to leave on the fifth day, just before the results were announced. And his interview was that day, the interview with the president, which is the last part of the selection process. And I think it was scheduled for 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and my train was at 8 at night. So around 6:30, I gave him a call, but he wasn't able to take the call. So I thought maybe he was in the interview still. So I proceeded to the station. En route to the station, I get a call from him around 7ish. Where are you? I said, I'm on the way to the station. Come back. And it, kya ho gaya? No, you come back, I said. And he sounded a little, flustered.
oh,
So I had a Fauji gadi, so I turned the gadi around, went there. So I met him. I asked him, kya hua? He says, yaar, wo mere ko lagta hai interview theek nahi hua. I said, kya? Tell me what exactly was the problem. He says, one question they asked me was, you were studied in a elite public school. So why do you think you are better than somebody who studied in government schools or not so elite schools? He said, why should we take you? That was the question. So he says, my answer was, don't take me, take the fellow who's better. Whether it's me or the guy from the other school, but you have to take anybody who's better. I said, so there's nothing wrong with the answer. He said, नहीं उसके बाद तो मेरे को बहुत ग्रिल किया उसने. I said, क्या ग्रिल किया? कहता, you've written in your resume that you are a national level rider. So do you ride your own horses? Does your dad pay for it, or is it the facility of the armed forces that you're using? Very apt question. He says, it's a facility which is given to us uh, because the armed forces are able to give it to the children for sports and for competing at various levels. So there's nothing wrong with that. So then I think what I told him, I said what they were doing was a deep selection process. His interview lasted almost 5 hours,
Oh
uh,
God.
4 to 5 hours, 4 to 5 hours,
Oh God, sir.
and I think would must be one of those rare fellows who went through the grilling process for 4 hours. And I'm sure they also must have made up their mind there that yes, there is something more in this young man. So I told him, don't worry, you'll be recommended. And I had to go because uh, I was getting late for the train. So I told him, I said, I'll give you a call in the morning. And true enough, next morning, when the results were declared, he was one of the three recommended out of a batch of almost 140. And he made two lifelong friends during the process. One joined the Navy uh, of the recommended boys. Arjun was his name, and he had studied with him in APS Udhampur, also an army officer's son. And the third was a civilian's son, forget his name. But all these three joined the NDA together. They were, good friends, different squadrons, of course. That's how it was. And talking about ambitions or a purpose in life or a dream, I think he lived his dream. Uh, the way he wanted, whatever he wanted to do, whatever he thought he wanted to do, and it became apparent to me after his casualty when I received messages from all of the country, people known, unknown. हाँ, गाड़ी साफ करा ले आपकी जा रही है सर्विस के लिए निकल जाए sorry
No,
uh,
sir. In fact, just a
there
minute,
were
sir. I'm sorry to
yeah
interrupt. Just a minute, sir. I'm sorry to interrupt. Brigadier Sood had told me he was to take his car for servicing today, but he had been very kind. He said, "You're a brother officer. I cannot say no to you." And despite his busy schedule, despite him having commitments, he has taken out time. So I truly, truly appreciate that, sir. Sir, please, sir.
no issue I did cancel a certain appointment because I thought this was more important so I forget where I was. I've digressed so uh, yeah I was talking about the number of people who sort of uh, paid tribute to Anuj either through the social media or by telephone calls or by short message services, SMS. In fact, uh, he himself was so meticulous. I didn't really know till after we started, unpacking his stuff and uh, looking at things. For example, just before going to the valley, he was aide to GOC 14 Dev at Clementown, Dehradun. And as an ADC, you've been yourself, it's a very difficult job, especially it's personality driven. And, you know, although Anuj was a very balanced person and very, very mature for his years, but a few times the boss did get on his nerves, because I believe he used to get personal and take it out personally. And I, of course, felt that, that wasn't really the way a general officer should behave. But things were how they were. Small incidents, but they would rankle him. Anyway, after that, he went back to the Purton, and in the unit,
Sir,
he was
just a minute, sir. Just a
really,
minute, sir. So just a minute. I can so connect with whatever you're saying because when I went for my SSB, I came from Lawrence School, Lovedale, sir, and then I went to Ferguson College. And the same question, exactly same question, and exactly the same question was put up to me in my SSB for
yes,
OTA and Allahabad. And secondly,
I,
क्योंकि मैंने भी एक ही tenure करा है तो जो आप कह रहे हैं ना, I'm literally getting goosebumps because I can connect so well with Captain Sood. I'm like ये तो मेरी कहानी आप बता रहे हैं सर.
yeah, no,
So please go ahead, sir.
no, it's a fact. the bias does exist because today they are trying to promote, you know, unfortunately or fortunately, whichever way it is, the children of the lower ranks in society because the army officers are the top notch. I mean, I think we are above the IS and the bureaucracy and everybody else, and that's what rankles them also. Our children are also better than them in all respects. They are well rounded, all
Oh
rounded,
yes.
and
Oh yes.
especially if you go to colleges like Ferguson or Stephens or any presidency college and you study in the public schools, Lawrence, you know, or your dad's school, which is at Nainital, Sherwood. For
Sir.
those schools have a reputation like Ivy League abroad in US, so they are a cut above, and they definitely make you better. For example, in the case of Anuj, he was with us till 10th. After 10th, my wife and I decided that it won't be possible for us to stay with him for his board because um, I was posted to a field area and before that, and she thought it was a long separation. So we decided that 11th, 12th, we put him in a boarding school, the same one I had studied, Punjab Public School, Nava. And there was a sea change in him in 2 years in that school because from a very hesitant, you know, introverted kid, he suddenly blossomed into an all-rounder. He wore the school colors for squash, part of the riding team, went for Punjab horse shows. He was liked by the staff and students, and he was part of the dramatics, elocution, editor of the school magazine. So in just about a year or so, his entire grooming, I would say, was different from earlier, 10 years in APS, Army Public Schools, all the places. So yes, mm, what you were saying, there is a bias in the staff, and this continues even into institutions. For example, in the NDA, when you go into the fifth and sixth semester, fifth and sixth terms, you made appointments, sergeants in the fifth term, and squadron appointments in the sixth term. And the bias was evident in fifth term when both he and one of his buddies from NDA, who later happened to get the Sword of Honor at IMA, Bhanu Mankotia, they were very good friends. Both officers' kids. Bhanu was the son of a colonel from the Guards Regiment, four Guards, Colonel RPS Mankotia and Anuj. Both were not given first rotation sergeants, which they thought they deserved. So some JCO's, Jawan's kids, some civilians' kids, they were given. And then the tragedy of it was in the sixth semester, both of them were not given higher appointments. Though I thought, one of them would become BCC and the other SSC, battalion cadet captain and a squadron cadet captain. But Bhanu was made just a divisional cadet captain, and Anuj was given the CQ, cadet quartermaster sergeant, which coincidentally even I was in the same squad. In fact, there are a lot of similarities between Anuj and self in terms of NDA. He was CQMS, I was CQMS. He was a gold toys holder, so was I. He was good at swimming, so was I. Only difference was I was not into riding that much. But again, in IMA, he had been CSM throughout the company. But just a month before that, they made him the SEO. I was also SEO, and he passed out in the first 10. I was 11th. So he was, 2 steps better than I was.
Sir,
And the
I
idiot
was, I
never
was just
told
going
me
to
that.
come to that, sir. I was just going to come to that. I was just going to come to that, sir. They
No,
always say that the son should be at least 2 steps ahead of the father, because only then the
Always.
generation
Yeah,
grow thereafter.
yeah,
So what
yeah,
you have said, you actually spoke my mind, and I, and when you said there were a lot of similarities, कसम से सर मेरे को ना मेरे रोंगटे खड़े हो रहे हैं. I'm like, ये तो सर मेरी कहानी होता है. That's exactly how I was and how I still am and how I
yeah.
maintain myself. सर जब मैं
Yes.
academy में था, OTA में, I came from military school, I had done NCC, and then I joined the academy. So in my academy, in my DST, drill square test, first attempt fail, second attempt fail, third attempt fail. Then there was a midterm break. In the
I
midterm
know.
break, in the midterm break, I wasn't allowed to go home. I was punished. I stayed back in academy. Academy reopened with all the cadets
Mm.
coming back. Fourth attempt. Now I had got extra drills, I had got restrictions, I had got whatnot. Fourth attempt fail, fifth attempt fail, sixth attempt fail, and the last and the final mercy attempt also fail. And
Oh my
military bearing, so I'm 6 feet 1 inch in height. I came from a theater background, a hardcore theater background. I had a good word of command, but I felt अगर मैं बार बार फेल हो चल जा रहा हूँ तो हो सकता है मेरे में
God.
ही कुछ कमी हो. I was marched up to the commandant of the academy, sir. Can you believe that? I was marched up to General Avasthi from the Rajput Regiment. Very fine general officer, very fine
I
commandant.
know.
He had my dossier in front of him, and he read it out.
Mm.
He said, "Son, you're doing so well in academy. We are seeing, I have a dossier. You are doing so exceedingly well in everything else. Why is it that in DST, in drill square test, you are failing repeatedly and consistently?" So you know what my answer was?
Yeah, tell me.
I told him, "Sir, when I came for my training in the army, and see, Anuj, Captain Anuj, who also was a son of a senior army officer, and I was a son of a senior army officer at that time. So I told him,
Mm.
sir, my father gave me a very, very sound advice. He said, son, do well in academy, make us proud, but always remember the most important thing is to keep your performance consistent." So that is why I was feeling consistent. So
You must
the
have had a
commandant,
hearty love.
so the commandant like that reply. He said, "Ah, इसके धक्के मारो, पुशअप लगाओ, पास कराओ." He told my company commander and the adjutant and the subedar major साहब कि इसको ये he should be इसको कैसे भी रात भर ट्रेन करो ड्रिल में, पास करेगा. The condition was, sir, on 6 September 2003, when our course was getting commissioned, when they were passing out, I wasn't allowed to march with my course. Can you beat it, sir? I haven't done the
Okay.
Antim Pak. I haven't marched with the course for the passing out parade.
Uh-huh.
So that was a wound in my heart, which will remain. But then, sir, let me come to the final thing. On 26th January 2008, the year I was completing my short service commission, I had the honor to lead the Assam Rifles marching contingent with 2 fractured legs. So I showed it to
Right,
them. कि तो
Okay.
आप जो कह रहे हैं, so I could, so and I मैं भी अपॉइंटमेंट था अकेडमी में फर्स्ट टर्म में. Even I was an appointment in the first term. उसके बाद second term में appointment नहीं मिली मेरे को because I had not cleared my DST. So जो I'm so sorry to bring up this because क्योंकि आप जो कह रहे हैं about Captain Anuj, I could so connect with it so well. So please, I broke your train of thoughts. आप बोलिए सर आगे. Sir.
That's good. That's good. So, how did you fracture your legs? Some accident or something?
No, sir. I had stress fractures. Like, जोश तो
Okay.
like Captain Anuj,
Yeah.
कूद के भरा हुआ था कि जब मैं रिहर्सल के दौरान प्रैक्टिस के टाइम पे जब अपना स्टैंपिंग करता था, जब लेग अप, I would really give it like all that I had in me. So as a result, इतने कदम मार के सर shin bones started swelling and I got stress fractures. Then I went to the ortho, the army ortho. He said, "Sir, I'm sending you back to your RTU कर रहा हूँ मैं." And my alternate, I was with the Assam Rifles on deputation. So my Assam Rifles was in Nagaland that time. तो फिर मैंने कहा कि अब वापस नागालैंड जाऊंगा मैं. It's a matter of prestige. मैं fractured legs के साथ पेन किलर्स लेके मैंने वो परेड करी है सर. And
good, yeah, I remember that contingent did get the award, I believe.
Sir.
Yeah.
Sir. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. So you were, sir.
Or I would just like to correct you here. Anuj was a substantive major in the RR.
Right,
So,
right.
Yeah,
Right.
and uh, he went there as a captain when he got posted there after his JC, where again he was topping in all his courses in basic infantry bios. He was a mech officer, so he had to undergo the infantry bios. He did well in that. He was in the first five or so. Thereafter, even in his mech bios, he got the I think the award for the gunnery portion. They have three phases. One is mechanical motorizing phase, that is with the vehicles, EMPs and all. One phase is gunnery, and the third is tactics. So of these three, in two, I remember seeing certificates awarded to him for his young officers courses. In the JC course, he was in AI, and uh, this was just after his ADC tenure. So he was expecting to go as a MO, military observer, because the age bracket and the service bracket and the profile he was having made him eligible to get a shot at that. But somehow he got posted to the RR in March 2018, and then June 2018 he picked up his substantive majority, and then of course he was a company commander in one of the most decorated RR units, that is 21 RR, which is a Guards battalion, and they call themselves the Triple Centurions because they have taken care of more than 300 militants, which is a record in itself. No other RR unit. They happen to be sitting on the line of infiltration, right um, down from Uri, Machil, through Tangdar, up to the Vatsar forests. At one point in time, they were very dreaded. In fact, both Anuj and CEO, both who were casualties in the same operation, they used to get threats, from the militants, कि तुमको देख लेंगे and all that nonsense. It happens there. So they were pretty lion-hearted guys. What they did was something which I happened to call. I got a call from the sector commander after the news came in, and I had only one question to ask him. He said, "What was the hurry to go in? It was broad daylight, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and there were two cordons already established. The CRPF had been there for almost 6 hours before these guys came in, and he had no answer. He says, even I don't know what. However, what comes to my mind is, if you recall, and this is debatable because uh, I've raised this issue before. It was 2nd of May, and if you remember, the late CDS Rawat had made a public announcement that on that particular day, the army would, felicitate the Corona warriors who happened to be, doctors, and they would deploy the armed forces resources to shower petals on them, and you know all that nonsense. And I guess as a result of that activity, which had diverted the resources in the valley, they could not get Kazakh sorties in, nor could they get adequate drone support or any other support of the para, etc., etc. So, and this was evident because if you followed the social media at that point in time, they were entirely cut off between 4 to next morning when they discovered the mortal remains. So they were in isolation. Um and I think the support system, which should have been active for operations, to support operations, was diverted. As a result, we lost. 5 people. Lives that could have been saved. Although in the case of Anuj, this guy had taken the militant had taken a shot from the top of a roof, and the main wound, he had about 18 injuries, 18 to
Oh God.
19 bullets. Yeah, uh, all below the vital organs, but one shot had gone through the nape of his neck from a top angle and come out at the scapula at the back. And it must have severed his spine because I think he couldn't have survived that shot. So even the CO got a headshot, but the two men and that, no, the police chap had also got a couple of shots into his jugular and the neck. These guys were shooting from top. So anyway, that's my view. I could be wrong, but let's stop there because it's very emotional.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Yes, yes, you're right. You're right. So, coming back to the same point where son should be 2 steps ahead of his father, and
Mhm.
my father always told me that. In fact, he always tells me that even now. And it's such a towering personality. तो एक pressure में आ जाते हैं हम लोग. Sir, I'll give
Mhm.
you the example of now group captain, that time wing commander Abhinandan Vartaman on 27th February 2019 when he
Yeah,
crash
yeah.
landed in Pakistan. And we all saw those viral videos where he told the Pakistanis that I'm not supposed to tell you that. And very, very bravely, his conduct was exemplary, how an officer should be. He is the son of an Air Marshal Vartaman.
Well,
And
yes,
so
yes.
I was speaking to his father the other day, and I told him, sir, now earlier he was known as Air Marshal ka beta. Now you are known as Abhinandan's father. How do you feel about
Absolutely
it?
right. Absolutely right. Today, whatever identity I have in life, you know, if you go back into history, हमारे मुल्क में पहले बेटे को कहते थे ये फलाना फलाना वालिद कौन है, फादर इज सो एंड सो, मतलब सन ऑफ सो एंड सो. पहले अनुज मेरे नाम से जाना जाता था ऑन रिकॉर्ड. Even today when I enter my details, my father's name is asked. But today I'm known more because of Major Anuj Sood, Shaurya Chakra. And it's a very uplifting feeling because, and I keep telling people, I said, it's no credit to me that he did what he did, and he became so gallant and valorous and naam roshan kar diya. No credit to me, it's his own actions. Maybe his mother takes a lot of credit because she was damn keen that he joined the armed forces. And there was a little quip in the family. Boys generally, when they turn teenagers and they're about 14, 15, they have a running tiff with their mothers. I don't know if you felt it yourself. And this boy too had, those things with his mom. So she would quip back to him. He says, कि अभी तो ठीक है Anuj, but you become an officer, you get up in the morning, say good morning ma'am, salute me, and only then you'll get breakfast. So that's something I recall, it became a family sort of joke कि तेरे को अफसर बनने के बाद तो सलामी देनी पड़ेगी माँ को, उसके बगैर तो खाना नहीं मिलेगा तेरे. So you would laugh
Again,
it
on
off.
that note, I can so recollect that. I can so connect with that as well because you would salute my mother. She was Mrs. Shah. She was not my mother. When I was doing ADC to General Shah, that time I had to salute. Obviously, I mean
Obviously.
he was my regiment former commanding officer, जिनका मैं ADC गया हुआ वहाँ पे. So Mrs. Shah was Mrs. Shah. तब उनको मैं केवल अवाम मीट्स या उनके घर नहीं गया था मैं. As with
अच्छा.
ADC. ADC is meant to be like your son. So जो आपने कहा ना सर वाकई में every single thing was it connected with me so well. So दूसरी बात है
Obviously.
the children of NCUs and JCUs when they get the commission, I feel very happy genuinely because I feel कि उनके बेटे अभी अपनी पीढ़ी को आगे बढ़ा रहे हैं, and it is something which it actually generally feels good. So now, for example, एक ब्रिगेडियर साहब का बेटा अगर कमीशन होता है, so he has to surpass that. But you know, I went for the passing out parade at IMA just about 2 महीने पहले. वहां पे एक सुबेदार मेजर साहिबान थे. His son had got a commission, and I had interviewed them. वो मेरे YouTube channel पे है. Sir, it was so heartening to see that the first salute, in fact, of that officer was given to him by his father. It was दिल खुश हो गया था वाकई में देख के. And I just last week, sir, I had the honor of interviewing Air Chief Marshal Bhaduria. So his father was an honorary flight lieutenant in the Air Force. He was जैसे फौज में जैसे होते हैं, जैसे कि honorary captain होते हैं वैसे. And he had also not got, he wanted to go to the RMC, मगर किसी वजह से वो RMC जा नहीं पाए. फिर वो दाखिला मतलब अंदर जा नहीं पाए वो. तो जब आप वो बात बता रहे थे, it totally remind me of Major Anuj Sood, sir, completely. I mean, it was genuinely very, very heartening, sir. Sir, before I let you go, I know आपके पास बहुत से काम हैं अभी. Sir, any message from Brigadier CK Sood, father of Major Anuj Sood, to the family of our braveheart Captain Deepak Singh, sir? इस अभी से कोई अगर आप मैसेज देना चाहें, सर.
मैं पहले तो उनके माता पिता और परिवार को अपना सलाम देना चाहता हूं, जिनने इतना बहादुर सपुत्र देश के लिए दिया है. और ये भी कहना चाहता हूं कि जिस तरीके से वो पहले घायल हुए ऑपरेशन के दौरान, जो जज्बा दिखाया उनने, केवल 4 साल की नौकरी उनकी मेरे विचार से हुई थी, 5वां साल चल रहा था. और ये जज्बा, जोश जो होता है वो यंग ऑफिसर में ही होता है, और होना भी चाहिए. नहीं तो हम जो आज़ादी आज मना रहे हैं वो बरकरार नहीं रह पाएगी. तो शोक आप मनाएंगे, मुझे मालूम है, मनाना भी चाहिए, हमने भी मनाया था. पर हर्ष और उल्लास और गौरव, ये शब्द आप अपने साथ कृपया जोड़ लीजिए, क्योंकि आपका बेटा बहुत बहादुर इंसान था. अपनी टीम को, अपने सहयोगियों को साथ लेके चला है, उनकी जानें भी बचाई है उसने. और लास्ट तक, जब तक वो वहां से मदद के लिए इवैक्यूएट नहीं हुए थे, वो अपनी टीम को गाइड करते रहे थे. वो एक बहादुर, काबिल अफसर थे, होनहार, और देश के लिए एक उदाहरण बन के गए हैं युवा पीढ़ी के लिए. तो उनके लिए सलाम और जय हिंद.
सर शुक्रिया बहुत बहुत सर. Thank you very much, sir. Truly indebted to you, sir, and really, sir, I can't tell you how much, sir, how honored I feel, sir, कि आपसे गुफ्तगू में रहा है. शुक्रिया बहुत बहुत.
Same here. Yeah, and thanks a lot for giving us the opportunity to encourage the youth and motivate them for serving the country and serving humanity, serving the people of a nation which will soon be the best in the world. It is the best. It's just that the realization is coming late in the minds of the so-called Western elite. We've always been a great nation, and we'll become greater, thanks to guys like you and the ones who have built the foundations for the future. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, sir. Jai Hind, sir.
Thank you. Jai Hind.